Welcome to Ask an Innovator. My name is Cole Snell. I'm really excited today. Today we're getting totally out of the box. I am going unscripted. For those that watch the show, you usually see me with some kind of piece of paper and I have all kinds of quotes. And for the first time, I'm actually in my comfort zone. I'm speaking to a chef. We're talking about food. We're talking about innovation in food today. We're talking about the mind, body, and soul of food. We're talking about the mind, body, and soul of innovation. We're going to talk about the mind, body, and soul of Nikos Mantis from Pinetree Catering. Today is a fantastic day. Food is my wheelhouse, as many of you know. This is the first food guest that we've had. Nikos has been my first choice in the food world due to the fact that what I think he's doing is truly innovative, truly remarkable, truly entrepreneurial. So, unscripted, Nikos, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
First question, what is fantastic about running a business in Thunder Bay?
What's fantastic about running a business in Thunder Bay, particularly in the food service sector right now, is we've got this fantastic culture of culinary just kind of brilliance that's exploding in Thunder Bay right now. So to be a part of that is very, very exciting. There's a really great network of kind of community-oriented chefs and entrepreneurs in the industry that have really great open communication with each other and work together and play together, and it's a really fun thing to do right now in Thunder Bay.
I used to think this show was innovative within itself, and just as you were walking in today, Janice reminded me that, and I've seen it many times on Shaw, you have your own cooking show.
Yeah, we've done some stuff with Shaw. We do kitchen conundrums, and that's been a really fun and exciting thing that we've done, and we got really great feedback from a lot of people in the community. So yeah. It's great.
So I mean, that's innovative within itself. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Yeah.
The idea of the culinary scene in Thunder Bay blows my mind. We can relate to this. I've been in New York, I've been in Montreal, I've been in Toronto. Now I'm in Thunder Bay. I talk to my friends from those cities, and I say, seriously, it's one of the pound for pound most dominant culinary scenes anywhere. How do you feel about leading that charge?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think we're hitting way above our weight class in Thunder Bay. Many people that I've spoken to, both through the business and just casually, that are traveling to Thunder Bay, are just, they're mind blown at what's happening here. And I think that really speaks to a lot of the homegrown talent that we have here, and the hard work that people of both my generation of cooks, but others as well, are really putting in, and really going the extra mile and making sure that people leave with a real, literal good taste in their mouth.
Yeah, literally, awesome. Literally, you mentioned homegrown. Are you from Thunder Bay?
I am from Thunder Bay. Was born in Thunder Bay, and have spent years kind of back and forth to and from. But at the end of the day, my heart was here, so it always drew me back.
Great. And you have a family here in Thunder Bay?
I do. I've got 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son, and they're great. They're 6, 4, and 2, and it's a really fun little family.
I bet. Are they in the kitchen?
Yeah, absolutely. My 6-year-old, I'm just teaching knife skills to right now. And she absolutely loves it. She loves handling a knife and learning how to cut and chop. So that's a really rewarding thing for me as a father to do and to do with my children. So it's great.
Yeah. The new part of your business that you just opened up, is it in and around your family home?
Yeah, so I started Pinetree Catering actually in the basement of our home. Right. The home that we bought initially had a woodworking shop in the basement, and I just saw the opportunity, like, there's already a space here, let's build a kitchen. Yeah. So we built a kitchen in there. It was about 500 square feet, and at the time when I launched Pinetree Catering, that was more than I needed. But very, very quickly we grew out of that space. So I have 40 acres just on the outskirts of Thunder Bay, and I thought, well, why not build it right close to home? So we built a big new prep kitchen, catering facility, and it's a 1-minute walk from my house.
Event space.
Event space. Well? Yep. Yeah. We've got a dining room there that can seat up to 50 people, or cocktail events up to 100. So yeah, it's really great.
And so the family, your kids and your wife, I mean, they're within a minute walking distance to Dad. Yeah. And they could come over at any time and pop in on you. And
yeah, I mean, it's certainly those that understand the restaurant and food business understand that it's grueling and it's long hours. Right. And so that was one thing that I was very apprehensive about, actually leaving my home, because when I had the business in my home, I would go and see my children on a regular basis before they went to bed. Yeah. But now they pop in and they visit me, and they run around the kitchen, and they're always going, "Dad, what are you cooking? What can I have?" So it's really great.
This is truly innovative, and to me, this is the having your cake and eating it too scenario, where I believe as an entrepreneur, I mean, this is why we put ourselves out there to innovate and to take risks is to have your cake and eat it too. Having your family so close to your work is so counterintuitive to what people think about running a business or running a restaurant.
For sure.
Even. And I respect you so much for that. Totally amazing. The event space, what inspired the event space and the expansion of your business?
So one of the big portions that we saw in the catering business was, particularly in the winter months, we struggled a little bit with being able to find adequate venues for folks that wanted to have their own style of food. So the appeal with Pinetree Catering is people can come to us and they can really customize and get whatever they like, and they understand that they're getting a certain caliber of food. Now, most venue spaces within the city come with their own catering and food service. So we saw this point where we had all these great opportunities, but just the inability to execute because we just didn't have the physical space to do it. So we thought, well, if we're going to build a big new kitchen, why not create the function space to go along with it and just invite people out to our place.
You and I both know that without customers, we don't have jobs.
100%.
Customers in Thunder Bay, why do you think customers in Thunder Bay, people in Thunder Bay are so supportive and open to innovation in food?
I mean, I think the Thunder Bay population recognizes what's happening. They see that we've got a really great thing happening here, and so the appetite to go out and just get into that is really there. And you see it across all the age demographics. I mean, everyone from high school students to retirees are coming and checking out what's going on in the food scene. It's new to Thunder Bay, and they recognize what's on their doorstep, and they're coming out and really supporting it. It's cool.
Is your food truck going to operate this summer?
For sure.
Yeah. You've done a great job with that.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun. The food truck was really a wheelhouse for us to be able to just have a lot of fun with the food that we're making, but we really had a focus on making it kind of a taste of Thunder Bay. We wanted to create that with our food truck, and so pretty much everything we do on the food truck really centers around locally produced foods that we have here, stuff from local farmers, bounty of our local lakes, great fresh fish, and then just adding some really exciting culinary flair to it, but having it approachable. So those that perhaps maybe don't want to go out for the fine dining experience can still get some of Thunder Bay's kind of creative culinary flair at a food truck at an approachable cost.
Yeah, and you came into the food truck business, again, being innovative. The food truck scene in Thunder Bay really follows that of other major centers. We're not far off. We're not a year or 2 or 3 or 4 behind. A lot of people think in Thunder Bay we're behind. Let's just take the food truck, for example. Toronto blew up with food trucks. Thunder Bay blew up with food trucks. Was your food truck one of the first to the market?
We were.
You were the first to the market.
We were the first. Somehow, by some forces of whatever it is, there was actually 3 of us that launched food trucks within a month of each other.
Yeah.
And so we had a kind of like lunch trucks in Thunder Bay prior, little catering trucks that would go to job sites and provide sandwiches and soups or whatever. But the modern concept of the food truck was very new, and so there was a few people that saw it at the same time, and we all kind of we all jumped in. Unfortunately, I'm the only one left of the original 3.
Right.
There's a couple now that are operating in Thunder Bay, but we're still going strong, and we have no intention to stop. Amazing.
We're talking to Nikos Mantis, Pinetree Catering, some absolutely fantastic stuff. I'm super pumped up. I'm really going to be excited to come back after the break, and we're going to talk about a little bit more about the business side of things. We're going to talk about how Nikos built his business, step 1 to step 2. Clearly, he did it with a plan. Clearly, he is successful. His food truck's still running. There's something to be said about that. Stay with us. We're going to be right back with Nikos. We're going to get into the business side of innovation. Welcome back to Ask an Innovator, here with Nikos, Pinetree Catering. One of my favorite quotes in one of my favorite kind of affirmations about what we like to do is that what we like to do and what we're good at are often one and the same. Is food your passion?
100%.
Yeah.
Food's always been my passion since I was a kid. I've got memories of when I was like 6, 7 years old, just throwing stuff together in the kitchen, and just most times it was terrible, but I just really loved doing it. I just I liked playing with food and getting the kind of the cause and effect out of what I was doing. It's always been there.
Do you see any one of your 3 kids following suit already? Can you see anything in them at a young age that might follow in Dad's footsteps?
Not yet. I mean, they do, express some interest and excitement, and having been in the business, I somewhat honestly hope that they don't actually.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
It's a long, hard slog. So, should they be interested, I'll support it 100%.
Yeah.
But right now, they're still a little young to have shown too much. Yeah.
Right. So that was the perfect segue, and I was hoping I was going to set you up to say that. Why do you call the food business, chefing, if you will, being culinary, why do you call it the long, hard slog?
It's definitely a business of hard work and dedication. The food service industry has a history of frankly being very close to a slave trade.
Right.
It's a lot of really long hours.
Yeah.
And anyone that's been in the business for any period of time understands that it's a humongous commitment. You think you're signing up for a full-time job, but most people's full-time jobs encompass maybe 40 hours a week and weekends off. It's very, very common in food service for us to be working 6-7 days and in excess of 60, 70 or more hours in a week.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. And you, like me, have probably done the math on how many hours a week you work versus what you're making, and you kind of break it down and you go, really?
Yeah.
Right?
If it's a really scary thing to do that.
Yeah.
I try to do that as little as possible, because when I do, it's very disheartening. But quite honestly, for me, it's about the passion.
It's about the passion.
I love doing it.
Right. Do you think you could ever work for somebody?
That's an interesting question. Up until 5 years ago when I launched Pinetree Catering, I was an employee, and I enjoyed it. But however, now having started Pinetree Catering and working for myself, I think it would be very difficult now to go back into that realm.
Yeah, I bet. What is the absolute best thing about running a business? And I'm going to follow that question with what's the absolute worst thing about running a business?
So the best thing for me personally is the personal reward and satisfaction that I get out of creating really great things and making people happy. That's really what drives me. When I cater a wedding and the bride and groom come up and just can be no more thankful. They just like, hats off, you guys did such a great job. That's what drives me. So our ability to execute as a team and to provide really great food and service to customers, that's the driver for me.
When you finish a big event and you sit down, everything's packed up, everything's put away, do you sleep well at night?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Is it a best feeling?
For sure.
A total rush.
Yeah.
And if you were to trade money for that, can money buy that feeling?
Absolutely not.
Right. So that's why you do it.
That's right.
I mean, I love that. That's great. So what is the hardest thing about running a business?
The hardest thing about running the business is really, at the end of the day, that everything falls on your shoulders as a business owner. You can hire key staff and put them in right places, but no matter what, it's always, at the end of the day, it's on you. So that part is, I don't want to say it's difficult, but it's challenging. So just having that overall responsibility for everything that happens within the business and the workplace, it's a big burden to carry.
My next question for you is a question that I have reserved on the show historically to the very end, the last 2 minutes of, say, the last segment. And I find that we're just getting into it and we run out of time. So I'm going to ask it now so that we have another segment and a half to potentially talk about it. What piece of advice would you give for the person that's working a 9 to 5, the person who might be disenfranchised with their current employment, wants to get out, open up their own business, but doesn't have the confidence because of fear or the courage to do it? What advice would you give the would-be innovator?
So if someone is contemplating the leap, it's probably one of the most scariest things that you're ever going to do. It took me quite a bit, and it took me some coaching with some people that were close to me to actually push me into just taking the leap and doing it. And it's been the most rewarding thing that I've done. But the advice I would give, I suppose, is to ensure that you're ready for the level of commitment that it's going to take. And you have to be 100% sure that this is what you want. Because if you're questioning the line of work, if it's in food service, if you're questioning whether this is right or not for you, and you take that leap of faith, it's probably not going to go so well. So I had that I was scared, absolutely frightened. It was one of the most frightening things I ever did. But I knew in my heart that this is where I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to cook, and that I had the drive within me. You know, I knew I had what it takes to pull it off. And it's been a hard slog. I mean, I've put in more time in this job than I've ever put into anything else that I've ever done. But it's also been the most rewarding. So, you know, if people have that level of commitment, it'll be the most rewarding thing you ever do.
Right. And would you ever go back? I mean, were you happy about the decision to do it? And it was the best thing that you ever did? It clearly seems like.
Yeah. I've been a career culinary professional since my very first job. I've been working in kitchens, and prior to opening Pinetree, I was honestly at a little bit of a breaking point. I started becoming a little disenfranchised with the work. The workplace I was in was it was becoming a little bit toxic, maybe not toxic, but undesirable. I was no longer passionate about what I was doing.
Kitchens can be toxic.
Absolutely. Kitchens can be very toxic.
Yeah.
And I've seen it time and time again, over and over again.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was honestly questioning, like, can I make myself a career in this industry? And that at the time was on shaky ground. You know, we just had the birth of our second child. And so, you know, I had this young family. Unsure about my career and what I was going to do with it. So it was a tricky time.
Do you consider yourself a risk taker?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you put entrepreneur and risk taker in the same boat?
I think to be a successful entrepreneur, you absolutely have to be a risk taker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you describe some of the biggest risks that you've taken as a businessman?
Certainly, to get the business up and running, the financial commitment. I mean, I basically tapped out all of mine and my wife's and my family's financial resources. The reality in food service is very few investors, banks, anything want anything to do with you because the failure rate in food service is astronomical. Most people will fail, so nobody wants to help finance it. So I would say that the financial commitment was one of the scariest things. Was to put my house on the line, to put all of our savings on the line, and go, okay, I'm gonna put this out there and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable thing you just said, and I can totally relate, and we've both heard it time and time again. A lot of restaurants fail. It's the most difficult industry in which to be successful, but yet as human beings, we need to eat. People have this very interesting relationship with food. Do you think people have an innate, a built-in evaluation of what they put in their bodies?
I do, and it's something that we struggle with on a regular basis as food service operators, because people do have kind of this predetermined notion of what they want to eat, what value they put in what they're eating, and so it's a very fine line that we have to walk in food service to be able to provide that for them at a price point that they're comfortable with, that also enables us to have a livelihood.
This is amazing. We're going to go to commercial. I am so excited to come back, and I've just realized the whole last segment, we're going to talk about the philosophy of food. We're going to talk about the difference between maybe the value of organic versus the value of something local. And I think we should probably just kind of dive deep into maybe some local food, what's happening, what we can do from a value perspective and related to food. Again, we're unscripted. I know that Nikos and I could probably be very passionate about the value of food. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Ask An Innovator, Pinetree Catering, the man himself, Nikos. Usually, and again, we're unscripted right now. Nikos and I could probably talk about the value of food, and I believe you might want to hear a little bit about what we have to say about food locally, food internationally. Nikos, what do you think about the local food movement, some of the local produce that we have? You use local food in your menu on a regular basis?
Extensively, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's another really great thing about Thunder Bay is we have a lot of local producers here that are really passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of them personally, primarily the suppliers that I deal with.
Yeah.
But they are people who I feel are equally passionate about what they do as I am about food and food service. And so when people put that kind of energy into their I see that translate into the end product. And from a culinary perspective, it's a simple, intuitive thing to think that, you know, if I'm getting products that are at the peak freshness, they're harvested and going into whatever kind of production, you're really getting the best product at the end of the day. So for me, the use of local food and the quality of food that we're getting here in Thunder Bay, despite our very short growing season for, you know, produce, it's great. I mean, I think the people here are doing a phenomenal job, and I'm happy to support them.
Yeah. I mean, I have so much. I kind of don't even know where to begin with this. I have so much to say about local food and about the value of food. Do you think that local food, is there value in local food? Is it better for you? It is more expensive than, say, buying a carrot here locally versus buying a carrot, and is it worth it? Is it worth to pay more? And if you pay more, are you getting more when it comes to local food?
Yeah, so, you know, up front, the optics of local food is that it's more expensive. In my opinion, if you dive a little bit deeper, that's not necessarily the case. And, you know, I can use a head of lettuce as an example. If I go to the grocery store and I buy a head of lettuce and I take that home, how much of that head of lettuce am I actually using? I'm probably peeling off, you know, a good portion of the outside of that head of lettuce. If I buy a head of lettuce from a local producer, it's just been harvested that day or the day before. Everything on that head of lettuce is consumable product. So, you know, the initial cost may be a little bit higher, but the value I'm getting is much better. From a taste perspective, I think there's no real argument to be made. If you have something at its peak freshness, you're getting the best flavors out of it. And you need to do a lot less to it. There's a lot less processing, a lot less seasoning that needs to happen. So in that regard, I think there's an argument to be made that you're not necessarily paying more for your local product.
Well said.
You know, from a health perspective, you know, I can only speculate on that one. I'm not much of a food scientist. But you know, I do know from you know, produce as another example, as that ages, nutrients are being lost, right? So again, you're eating fresh product that's coming close to home. You're kind of getting the most bang for your buck in that regard. So it's intimidating for some, I think, because of that, you know, the concept of that price tag being a little bit higher. But I think if you just, you know, you play with it a little bit, you do a little bit of your own kind of in-home research with that, purchase some product, see how it goes, see, you know, how it tastes, and what the end of the day, I think that's great value. So
the economics of local food, is it sustainable, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, being a local business owner, I think there's tremendous value in supporting a local food system. You know, I know that when I'm purchasing from a local producer, not only am I getting a product, but I'm supporting that person and their family in our community. And you know, on that note, I'm a very community-minded person, so I do see great value in supporting a local economy. Because in turn, I mean, at one point, those people will turn around and they'll be supporting me in my business. And I've seen it over and over again. You know, we put great value in good kind of working relationships with maintaining those cash dollars within the community, and yeah, I mean, what goes around comes around, really.
In Thunder Bay, what goes around comes around, I think, more so than any community I've ever been in. We are insular, we are isolated. There's not many places for our dollars to go.
For sure.
Local food is in many ways, and food in general is in many ways is ground zero on an economic scale. Because again, without food we die. We need food to live. We need food to survive. $1 spent on local food is probably 2 return in many ways, especially in Thunder Bay. And I believe that's why the food scene in Thunder Bay is so vibrant and so sustainable in so many ways, is because we've created a self-supporting system in so many ways. Very, very passionate about this stuff. Do you believe in the soul or the spirit of food? Do you believe that local food has better karma?
I think so. I mean, you know, a lot of it relates back to what I just talked about. You know, being a supportive vehicle. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you feel good about what you're eating, absolutely, the karma's there. It's you know, it's a good thing for you. It's a good thing for the people that are around you. Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah, I know. I can't help myself but to dive into some of the spiritual aspects on this show. Some of the aspects around kind of what keeps us going and what motivates us maybe to spend a little bit more and understanding where the value really lies. So if there was one type of food in Thunder Bay, if there was a category of food in Thunder Bay from a local perspective that you as a caterer, as a established food company, what would you like to see Thunder Bay? Where would you like to see some innovation from a food perspective in Thunder Bay?
What I think we have on our doorstep, which there's a variety of factors why it hasn't been tapped into enough, but is our wild game and wildly foraged resources that are here. I know that there's government legislation and restrictions on the ability to harvest and share that in a business setting, but I mean, the venison that we've got on our doorstep, the bounty of freshwater fish that we've got on our doorstep. There's ways to manage those appropriately without putting harm on the local ecosystem and be able to share that with the world, because I mean we're in a pretty special place. I'm a hunter and fisherman myself, so I reap those benefits personally, and to be able to share that on a grander scale, I think would be an amazingly innovative thing for Northwestern Ontario for sure.
I mean, we're really kind of getting into, and we're running out of time, but I mean, I would love to have you back to talk about just the politics of food. It's just amazing how politics have in so many ways stifled what sustenance we have right here in our own backyard.
For sure.
And that, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. So I officially have goosebumps talking to Nikos. I could talk all day. We're out of time. The amazing thing about local food is that it is sustainable, it is soulful, it has connectivity, and it does keep money in our community. Get out there, buy local, support Nikos, support your local farmers. It's absolutely amazing. Nikos, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
Amazing guest, and look for Nikos with good food, more to come. Thanks for being here.
Cheers.